everyone who has tuned in to this video. I truly appreciate you. And if you're new here and you enjoy whispered true crime, please consider subscribing to the channel. I post 2 times a week, on Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I recommend wearing headphones if you would like to hear the gentle mic brushing. Before we get into tonight's case, I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Gin Rummy Stars. That is a free app that you can download onto your iOS or Android device. And it is a super fun game of online gin rummy. Regardless of whether or not you know how to play gin rummy or whether or not you think you're a good player, it doesn't matter. You should still go ahead and get this game. I promise you, you will enjoy it. And once you get started, it is really addictive. In this game, you are paired up with real live opponents from all over the globe. I myself plan on playing for a couple hours tonight, starting around 9 o'clock Eastern Time, of course. So if you're on there, you might get paired up with me. Who knows? That would be super cool. So let's see if that happens. I have really been enjoying playing this game in my downtime. Sometimes I think I'll just play a game or 2, and before you know it, I've played a whole bunch. But that's not a bad thing, because the more you play, the higher up you get in the levels, and you unlock things like new hairstyles, new outfits, new accessories, different rooms. For example, they have the Joker's Gin, which I'm showing you myself playing right here. And in that variant, the Jokers are wild, which is so fun because if you get a Joker, if you are dealt a Joker, it makes it so much easier for you to win because you can substitute a Joker for anything. You may or may not be aware of the fact that for a week starting on June 19th, it will be Animal Rights Awareness Week. In recognition of this, the makers she was the second oldest of 5 children. She was the only girl. Now, she did well in school, and she really aspired to have a successful career, as she had watched her parents struggle a bit. Her father worked in construction, and her mother had 2 jobs. She worked for the post office, and she cleaned houses. So Brenda hoped to be a doctor, but her family just didn't have enough money for her to go to college. So she got herself a job working as a dental assistant. She also had a second job at a day spa doing teeth whitening. Now, she was an attractive girl, and she did not have trouble finding a guy, but she was pretty selective. She wouldn't date just anyone. So she went on some dating apps, and she met a guy named Ricky Paniagua in August of 2012. Now, he had just recently moved to Dallas from California. He had attended the Stanford University Medical School and was doing his residency in dermatology there in Dallas. He had just recently divorced. He was known to be very smart, like a studious guy. He was also introverted, and they shared a lot in common. They both came from humble upbringings. He had grown up in a trailer park in rural California. Both of them had a shared desire to make something of themselves. So their relationship was off to a great start. 3 months later, she moved into his apartment. Then in June of 2013, she became pregnant. They decided together that she would have an abortion, but she vowed to herself that someday, when things were right, she would have his children. A couple months later, she enrolled in a dental hygiene school, and then a little while after that, he gave her a promise ring. So a promise ring is what comes before an engagement ring. I guess it's kind of like saying we're going steady. We're very serious, but not ready to get engaged. Then in June 2014, we do not know why, but he broke up with her. And he went ahead and got on with his life like nothing was wrong. She, on the other hand, completely fell apart. She started failing her classes. She had 2 parents and 4 siblings. She had been the captain of her high school cheer squad and captain of the girls' volleyball team. She went on mission trips abroad to help build churches and led Bible study classes for low-income kids. For college, she attended DePaul University in Indiana, and she went to dental school at the Kentucky College of Dentistry. During spring breaks, she would work for Habitat for Humanity, and during one Christmas break, she traveled to Ecuador to help provide dental work to the children there. So she sounds like quite a wonderful, wonderful person. As somebody had said it in one of the documentaries, she was practically a saint. I mean, nobody is perfect, but boy, sounds like she was close to it. Now, she had married her college boyfriend, but it didn't work out. So, in 2010, she had moved to Dallas for a fresh start. And she got herself a beautiful apartment in a very safe part of Dallas. So as I said, she met Ricky on Tinder, and they really, really hit it off. I mean, they fell in love. They had shared interests and values. He was a doctor, she was a dentist. It was a beautiful relationship. Now, in June of 2015, Ricky sent an email to Brenda telling her about his new girlfriend, and she acted like she was happy for him. But don't forget, she had given this man about 3 years of her life. She had worn his promise ring, and she had gotten pregnant and got an abortion. So she was very invested in him and not really wanting to let go. She continued to follow Ricky's life through his Facebook and other online accounts, and she was seeing so much of him and Kendra. Brenda went on a date with a guy she knew from high school, and she asked him if he knew anybody who could hurt someone for her. And he said, forget about it. Don't even go there. No, don't do it. So, she moved on. She was gonna find someone. She met with her cousin, her male cousin. She asked him if he could take a baseball bat that she brought with her to their dinner meeting. It was a metal bat. Can you take this bat and go threaten Kendra with it? And he's like, no. Nope, not doing it. So she's betting 1,000 here. And she has this friend named Jennifer who was down on her luck, needed a place to stay, so Brenda invited her to move in with her. So Jennifer moved in, and immediately Brenda asked Jennifer if she could help Brenda with this plan to hurt Kendra and Ricky. So, she moved out, but one of Jennifer's friends, named Crystal Cortez, she was interested. She was 23. She was a single mother and was struggling financially. And when Brenda offered her $500 to kill Kendra or help with the murder, she was like, okay, I need the money. $500. Okay. And they talked and they decided that they needed to shoot her. That was the best plan. But neither of them knew how to use a gun. So they drove around in Crystal's neighborhood and they asked all kinds of men on the street if they could do it. And nobody could, or nobody would. Until they ran into a friend of one of Crystal's neighbors who happened to be visiting. His name was Christopher Love. He was a 31-year-old man with a long criminal history. He had been selling marijuana to try to make a living, but he wanted to start a prostitution ring, and he needed some extra money to do it. Brenda offered him $3,000 worth of both drugs and cash to do this crime. And he said he has a gun. So that was that. Meanwhile, Kendra and Ricky were living it up this summer. Summer 2015. They had been traveling. They had been doing all kinds of outdoor activities, posting photos everywhere. You could see how happy and in love they were. And they even had a trip planned for Labor Day weekend to go to Cancun. They had started talking about marriage as well. Now, on August 26th, Brenda graduated from dental hygiene school, and according to her brother, she looked just as happy as she possibly could. Everything was going well, or so it seemed. And she still had to take the licensing exam. Ricky spoke to her. He congratulated her on graduation, wished her good luck on exam, and he told her that he's moving to Sacramento to start a new medical practice in October. And she was really already gone, unfortunately. And they took a look at the footage. They saw the car, black Jeep, and they went ahead and they showed it on the news. They showed the car. They spoke to Ricky, and he had no idea who it could possibly be whatsoever. Not a clue. He was like, who would want her dead? But her purse had been taken. Christopher did take her purse, so it could have been just a robbery gone wrong, they thought. They didn't know. Meanwhile, that evening, Brenda was having dinner at Chili's with Jose, the guy who owned the Jeep. This was to be her alibi. So she got a receipt. They went back to Jose's place, and Crystal was to come meet her there so they could give him back his car and get her car, the one that he had fixed, and that's what they did. Now, Jose happened to see the news report, and he saw his Jeep on the news. So, he called the police and he told them, "That's my car. I think that's my car. But here's the deal." And he told them who had his car. He wasn't going to be going down for this. So they brought in Brenda and Crystal to the police station. And Brenda said, "It's got nothing to do with me. I was at Chili's. Here is my receipt. I was not at this shooting. I don't know anything about it." Now, they were able to hold her because she had an unpaid traffic ticket, but she paid it and left after a short while. Meanwhile, Crystal didn't get off so easily. Crystal ultimately said that Brenda had paid her and this guy named Lamar to rob Kendra. But Lamar wound up shooting Kendra, and Crystal had no idea that that was going to happen. But she was arrested and charged with capital murder, and shortly after, they went through her cell phone records and they found Christopher Love in there. They went to pay him a visit. They found that he had the gun, the murder weapon, and he was arrested and charged with capital murder. Now, he told the whole story about Brenda. When they went to go and arrest Brenda, she was missing. She wound up on the FBI's most wanted list. She was number 2 for a period of time. It took them 6 months to find her because she was in Mexico with family. And in order to have her extradited, since she was a citizen of Mexico, they had to agree that she would not get a death penalty. So, she was extradited. And Crystal agreed to tell the whole story in court in exchange for a short she was sentenced to life without parole. And that is the whole sordid story. So, what do you think? I'll tell you a little what I'm thinking. First of all, my heart goes out to Kendra and her family and Ricky. What a horrible, horrible, horrible thing. What a shame that such a wonderful person was taken so early. Now, what can I say? Why did it happen? We ask this question all the time. Why do people destroy their lives like this? Brenda had a bright future. She had just graduated from the dental hygiene program, which is not an easy program. It's a great career. She had every reason to be happy, to move forward in life, but she could not get over this guy. You know, how many of us have been dumped and have had our hearts broken? Lots and lots of us, right? It is a natural part of life, but for whatever reason, she could not cope with it, and she threw away her life, as well as many others, obviously. Now, what about Crystal? $500. She did this for $500. Now, I'm not gonna say, oh, the poor woman, she was broke, she had a kid. No, I'm not gonna say that at all, because that is absurd. And the fact that it was $500 doesn't really make that much of a difference, because you could offer me $5 million and I wouldn't kill somebody. No amount of money would make me do it. But this woman, Crystal, thought so little of someone else's life that she was willing to go ahead and help an acquaintance, basically, to kill somebody. And Christopher Love, what an ironic name. I mean, he was a hardened criminal, so he really didn't care about anyone. He's so $3,000. Okay, that's great. I don't care about killing somebody. If I get $3,000, then it's good. He placed no value on other people's lives, clearly. Anyway, that is about